Hi, welcome to this episode of this Power BI course. In this video, we're going to be talking about understanding Power BI interface. But before we can try to understand the Power BI interface, we need to install Power BI. So how do we do that? So this is how we do that. So you are going to go to your Microsoft Store. I believe if you are using a Windows, you would have a Microsoft Store. If you are using Apple, you probably have an Apple Store. I don't know. So you have, just type in Power BI on the search button, Power BI, and then hit enter. So when you come here, Power BI desktop have been installed on my system already. So but if it has not been installed on your system already, you would see something like get. So I'm going to click on get to get it. So while it is downloading and installing, ensure that your network is on, your internet is on. So alright, while Power BI desktop is still installing, let's try to understand how the Power BI interface works. Alright, so this is how the Power BI desktop user interface looks like. So this is where you build your reports. This is where you model. This is where you build your dashboard and your reports, basically. So how does this look like? It's very similar to Excel. So you have the ribbon at the top. So this is the ribbon section. So you can see file, home, insert, modeling, view, optimize, help. So under each ribbon, you have what is called groups. So you can see the clipboard group, you can see the data group, you can see the query groups, you can see the insert, and inside each group, you have what is called a command. You can see get data is a command, Excel workbook is a command, like they are clickable basically. Those are the commands. Then if you look here, you see three buttons here. You see one that has like a chart icon, then the other one has a table icon, and then one has a model, like a modeling kind of icon. So the first one towards your left, this one is called the report view. So it's the default view. So once you open up your Power BI, this is the view that comes up. So it's where you build your report. This is where you build your charts basically. And then the next, which looks like a table view, is called the data view. So this is where you show your data. So you show it in a tabular form, like similar to Excel. So that's where you can see each data that you have in a tabular form. Then the next is the model view. So this is where you build relationship between data. So that's where you build relationship. That's where you model your data basically. Remember we talked about data modeling in the Power BI workflow. So this is where you actually perform that data modeling. All right, good. So you can call this the dashboard canvas or the dashboard workspace. So this is where you build your charts basically. And then the next, you have just below this, you have the page navigation pan. So this is where you know which page you are working on. You can rename the page just like you have it in Excel. It's called sheets basically, but in Power BI you call it pages. All right, so that's where you can click on this plus icon to add a new page, and then double click on it to rename the page. And then I want you to look at your right. So we have three sections on the right. They are called pan. So we have first is the filter pan. So this is where you filter. It helps to filter your visuals, your charts basically. So you can add advanced filtering function here. This is where you can do that. So that's the filter pan. Then the next is called the visual pan. So this is where you add visuals to your dashboard and then you format it. So that anything that has to do with visuals, this is where you do that. Whether building or formatting or customizing, this is where you do that. Then the next is the data pan. or sometimes we call it a field pan. This is where it shows all the fields from your data. That means all the columns from your data, not just columns. It also shows measures that you will create. So we are going to still talk about measures in the subsequent videos. So any measure you create, that's calculation or new columns or anything, is going to show up here in the data pan or in the field pan. Well, so but I'll stick with data pan basically. So that's where you do that, and then just below this here you have your volume slider. So that's where you slide, zoom in, sorry, not volume, zoom slider. That's where you zoom in and then you zoom out. So I will recap this. Then we can then go into the Power BI interface itself. You have the ribbon at the top. You will have your report view just towards your left corner. You have the report view, the first one. The second one, you have the data view. The third one, you have the model view. And then you have your page navigation pan. That's where you can add more pages and switch pages. Basically, you can rename the page name. And then you have on your right, you have 3 pans. First pan is the filter pan, helps you to filter your charts. And then the next is the visual pan. That's where you can create visuals and customize visuals basically. And then the last one towards your right is the data pan, where you can see all your fields of your data and the measures as well. Alright, so let's go into Power BI to see how all of this works. Alright, so as we can see, Power BI is installed already. So I can click open to open this, but however I did open it already. So I will come here to, so this is how the Power BI is going to open. However, you might not have a dark theme like this. I actually set this up to have a dark theme, and it's going to be like a bright theme basically, but it doesn't change anything. Alright, so when we add this, we have home, so you have your open. So if you have existing files that you're probably working on, this is where you see them. So you can click on open. It's going to open all the existing file projects you have been working on. But since you don't have any, so this is where the default page is going to be. And then if you want to start your work, I always recommend that you start with a blank report. So start with a blank report, click on blank report. Good. So now this is what it looks like basically. Now, seeing what I've explained earlier about the Power BI interface, so we have this as our ribbon. We have file, home, insert, modeling, view, optimize, help. These are our ribbon. And then if I click on this drop down, I can see the groups basically: clipboard, data, queries, insert, calculate, and the likes. And then I can see on this, I can see the report view, and then I can see the table view. I can see, let me click on the table view to show you how it looks like. So this is the table view. So we have no data yet. That's why we can't see any table here. We can't see any data here. Then the model view, we have no data that we want to model. So that's why it is like this. So if you have tables, this is going to show. So table 1, we can merge it with each other. And then we have the DAX. So this is where you write your DAX query. DAX stands for data analysis expression. We're still going to do more on this particular subject. I think I'm going to do the whole concept in Power BI that we really need to dive into, but we'll do that in the subsequent lesson. So we've talked about this, and then we're going to go back to this, and then we have the filter pan. This is the filter pan. As you can see, the filter pan. So you have a filter pan. This is where you filter, and then you have your visual. This is where you create visuals basically. So, and then you have your data. This is where you're gonna do the have your data. If you see your data, if you actually have them on Power BI. Alright, so that being said, then you have your page. So I can create more pages. Page 2, I can double click on this to say this is overview. Good. So I can rename the page like this. I can zoom in and then zoom out. So it just depends on how I want to see that. Okay, good. And then I can close down this pan by using this. I can collapse this pan by using this arrow button here, this one here. I'll collapse it. If I don't want to see it, I'll collapse it, and then I can collapse this so that I can have more space to see my visuals. And let me reduce that to 60. Good. So this is how the Power BI all right, that brings us to the end of this particular lesson. So in the next episode, we're going to be talking about connecting to multiple data sources. I know you don't want to miss this. See you there.